are you both doing today?
Hi, John. Thanks for having us. We're good. Happy to talk about the movie.
Yeah,
I
John, thank you for having it. Excited to jump in.
no, I'm super excited of talking about the film. I gotta say it's an amazing film. In all, Richie, you as Julian, it's just phenomenal performance. Love the character and Corey. The way that you brought the film to fruition, and the way that you made the 90s back again on that film was phenomenal. And being the fact that here in Puerto Rico we don't have those type of like extracurricular um like classes. It's great to see some a story that at least touches myself in a way that I wanted to get into, radio and whatnot, and now we it's so easy to get into it. But starting off the bat, first question for Corey: what inspired you to bring this film to the people?
Yeah, I wanted to write something that felt like a John Hughes movie, but for gay kids, like the gay movie that John Hughes never made. And also something, that we've been talking about is like I also like thought of Superbad, and like what if there was a gay Superbad? And that movie does such a great job of being, yes, totally funny, but then talking about a real friendship and what it's really like to be in high school, the trauma of it, the ridiculousness of it, and to kind of show what it was like to be, a high school kid in the 90s, without all this technology, without social media, without our phone, and try to share that with, a generation like our star Richie Fusco's. These kids are in high school and the kids who are in college now, just trying to share our experience with them.
And Richie, wanted to ask you, how was it to bring your character to life? Because your character is so bombastic, and as well has a certain condition that you you do see it throughout the film, but he does not open up to it until like at the very end. But how was it to bring this character to fruition?
Yeah, I think the character was just so much fun to dive in and explore just because of all these complex things that the character's going through. He's juggling a multitude of things, and I think that's exactly what happens in high school when you're growing up and you're trying to kind of figure out who you are. And I think that's an absolute testament to Corey's writing. He made this character very complex and have so many, love interests and hobbies, and he was a one of one kind of character when I first read the script. And he calls himself weird, so like that was so much fun to be like, great, we got to make him weird. Like he's got to be, have these inside jokes, and he's just got to be so, in his own world. And for me, it was just so much fun to bring the character to life and see him grow and come to terms with everything that's kind of going on in his life.
Amazing. Now, Corey, I wanted to ask you this because the first thing that as soon as the film ended, I was like expecting, some words saying that Julian went to be like a big star, and his friend, Carrie, got to be opened up and everything, because I thought that this was like a docu film. But is this an actual story that it might happen in real life? Because at least for myself, it felt like a documentary, like you were telling somebody's story
Oh,
in the
yeah.
film.
No, no, it's painfully autobiographical, John. It was like me and my best friend met when we were 8 years old doing musical theater, and those kids are ostracized, weird little kids, and we didn't really have any other friends. So we kind of, with your best friend, in junior high school, like you develop a language that is just your own, sense of humor that is just your own. And when we got show on our high school radio station, which I know sounds insane. Like, well, how does a high school have a radio station? But they still do, shockingly. We got to just, spray our brand of humor all over our community, once a week in the morning, for years. So yeah, I'd never seen a movie like that. I never seen a movie that had a character like Julian, and he's very much modeled off after my best friend of many years. So yeah, it's deeply personal. Yeah.
That's amazing. And Richie, you just told us how was it to bring your character to life. Was there any key component of your character that you felt really connected to?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, music was my really big thing getting into Julian. You know, obviously he references a lot of artists that he loves, and he's wearing a lot of t-shirts of artists that he loves. So kind of just diving into those musical artists, you know, before we started shooting and kind of just getting into like their that artist's music and who they were as people and like what they were trying to say with their music. So yeah, right away I just developed a playlist on my Spotify, just full of what I imagine Julian's listening to, and pretty much before every scene I had a song that would sort of correlate to that scene to kind of pull the emotion and sort of just be like, what was he listening to right before this scene started, kind of a thing. So music was definitely like I think my biggest entry point into the character.
Okay. And now question will be for both of you. How was it working with each other and as well with the cast?
Yeah.
Richie.
We literally call it summer camp, because it felt like it. I think it's very rare that you have a cast and crew that just like genuinely are friends and they're passionate about the project. And I think the diverse group that we had and all the issues that we tackle with the movie, I think everybody felt seen to some capacity. So it was a really, really great time. Like again, it felt like we were back in high school, like just having fun doing this thing, which is, if you're not having fun doing it, if we're not making the crew laugh while we're doing it, then like we're doing something wrong. So, we were all it was great.
Yeah, it was a total dream. We were so lucky in terms of casting to find the actors we found. And it's making movies is hard ass work. But when every so often you just like get to join a little cult and have everybody in the same place at the same time, and they can forget about their real lives for a while and just dig in and do what they do best. And Richie Fusco, who plays Julian, and David Bloom, who plays Carrie, just led a cast of like the most eccentric, weird, brilliant, funny people. And our crew reflected that. And yeah, as Richie said, it was summer camp every day. And I think that just bounces off the screen. Like, the joy we had making it is definitely, shining on our audience, when they watch it, hopefully.
That's amazing. And another question for both of you. Is there any moment while you guys were in production or filming that you guys take to heart, like a funny moment or something that, it just like stayed there? Like every time you go back to it, you're like, yes, this is what happened.
I think my favorite scene is the last scene of Screams. We're going off to college, just that scene to film it was amazing. I think David is still like one of my favorite people I've ever gotten to act with. It was towards the end of our shooting too, so in a lot of ways, it was great timing that was sort of one of the last things that we shot because it was a farewell, and it felt like we became two best friends, really close, spending every second of every day together spending every second of every day together for a while, and then all of a sudden, in a couple days, that's it. You go back to your lives, and that's exactly what these characters were doing. So that really stands out to me, and that last scene kind of gets me emotional almost every time. So
Yeah, it's the same scene for me. Like, there's some scenes you write, and you know that they are where your movie should be and how your story should end, but you don't expect like these masked, these dolly grips, and your gaffers and all your electricians to be, crying along with your lead characters, while you're shooting a scene. And that's, I think, when you know that you're making something personal, and you're making something authentic, and you're making something maybe universal. So yeah, it's the same scene for Richie. I think we end our movie with like something that everybody can relate to and had to do in their own life. I'm so happy with that scene. Yeah.
And another one for both of you. Corey, in this case, it will be the same kind of the same question, but I maybe there's two types of like chain of thought. What were there any difficulties while filming? And in this case, for Richie, were there any moments while filming that were a little bit challenging to bring your character to to its full potential?
Yeah, I think like, when you're making indie films, every day is hard. You're shooting 12-hour days, and you have to move whether you want to or not, whether you think you got your scene in the can or not. So every day is hard, and the only, salve to that and solve to that is to surround yourself with people who love what they do and love the story you're trying to tell. So like the whole thing is difficult. But you're in film and you're addicted to it. There's an adrenaline there that just makes you keep going. And then get to sit back at Dances with Films and watch your East Coast premiere and forget about all the pain. If you can, make that fulcrum point happen where you've forgotten about how hard it was to just enjoying your movie. Yeah, that's like, the miracle you're trying to make happen.
I think one of my biggest challenges, at least, was I wanted to make sure I did justice to the whole OCD arc, which is Julian's like biggest thing, honestly, that he's kind of going through, and you can see little traces throughout the beginning until it becomes, very, very big deal for him towards the end of it. And luckily, like what we were saying, we had such a diverse group of cast and crew that everybody had stories to tell, and we had people that could just chime in, and it was just great to feel like not only Corey had my back, but like the grips would come up and be like, I want to share my story about this thing. And you could just have this whole experience with everybody, even the background extras. Like we became friends. Like so it was just really nice to be supported the whole time. And even if there was a question, being supported by everyone, the entire chain of command had everyone's back the whole time.
That's amazing. And uh Corey, the question I'm going to ask now, probably I think that Julian will like to know as well. But are we going to see these characters once again, probably in a sequel, to see what happened to them in their careers or in their future?
Yeah, I would never make a sequel to the movie because I love how it makes you ask that question. I love that
Okay.
people leave the film wanting to know what happens to these guys. It's like the highest compliment I could get as a writer and director. That said, I would love to make an episodic series of, based on this movie. Like I just, high school is so full of stories. Our ensemble, our cast, our characters I just fell in love with. And so, yeah, I could spend years writing for them and finding out where these people live and, watch them lose their virginity for the first time and, go to a school dance and get beat up somewhere. So I dream of it. I hope we get to realize that one day.
Will you play your character once again, Richie?
I loved playing Julian. I think I'd come back if Corey would have me. Yeah, I mean the whole cast. I mean, it was electric. It was something that you dream about having that chemistry with your other actors, and from top to bottom, even the school employees. It was a blast. I looked forward to filming every day.
That's amazing. This would be my final question for both of you today. If you could describe the film with one word, what would it be?
Raucous. Maybe that's too heavy a vocab word, for like a coming of age film. But somewhere like that or um, you know, lovable, I just think there's something really lovable about these boys, their friends, and I think we made a lovable movie.
Amazing.
I'd go with authenticity. Because I
Okay.
think that's something that all the characters from top to bottom kind of come to sort of towards the end, and they kind of realize they're inspired by Julian's authenticity, and yeah, totally.
Okay. Thank you very much, Corey and Richie, for giving us the time to talk about the film. Super excited, and I hope that another time or another date we get to sit down and talk about maybe another project with both of you or with each of you. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thanks for
watching
having
the movie, John. Thank you.
Thank